What's up, guys? Welcome back. Today, let's look at some transfer targets for Game Week 4 Plus, and also let's look back on Game Week 3 because this is still early in the season. So let's try to learn from this and try to figure out who the good teams are. My personal two transfer targets that I really like right now, I can't bring them both in, but those two players are KDB and Vardy. And I think there are some upsides and some downsides to getting both of these players, so we'll talk about that. So let's first review Game Week 3. So I got 38 points, -4 is 34. Not the best week. My transfers didn't pay off too well this week. I got rid of Adams for -4 for Jimenez. I brought in Foden and James. They all blanked, as did most popularly owned players this week. Jimenez's own goal was unlucky. Rodriguez could have definitely had an assist from a corner when Calvert-Lewin just missed it, but that'll happen sometimes. I think if you are a Wolves owner, if you have, I don't know, let's say you wildcarded, even if you have double Wolves defense and also Jimenez, I would keep all of them because this next matchup is probably as good as you can get right now because they play Fulham. So looking at Fulham, they just lost 3-0 to Aston Villa at home. Now, it really can't get any worse than that, and it's definitely not worth to transfer out any Wolves player, I would say, maybe unless they're injured or if it's like Moutinho or Neves. I don't know why you have them in the first place. You probably haven't been watching FPL content, to be honest. So before that, Fulham, they lost 4-3 to Leeds. Leeds scored 4 goals on them. And yes, they scored 3 goals on Leeds, but Leeds have been terrible defensively all season. And before that, Game Week 1, Fulham lost 3-0 to Arsenal. So Fulham, they can't really have gotten much worse, right? They've not scored in 2 of the games. The one game they did score, they gave up 4. It's just been terrible. So right now, you got to treat Fulham as a great fixture at home. Do we think Wolves will keep that up? I don't think so. That's why I'm not willing to say that Wolves in the future are bad options. You may even transfer them in for this matchup if you're saying that, hey, Wolves just had one bad game. I have to say right now, I think the most reliable team is Liverpool, of course. That's not like a bold claim or anything, but I am glad I captained Salah. He could have got some more points, but I'll take the assist for the captaincy for just this week because, hey, it was a low-scoring game week. I think Mane is a legitimate option. I have looked at what I could do. I could take a -4 and bring in Mane as well as Salah. I think that's not crazy. Mane and Salah have the highest expected goals so far this season of any FPL midfielder, and Mane actually barely beating Salah right now, even though I still prefer Salah because he is on penalties, and we've seen a lot of those, and also Salah traditionally outscores Mane. Although Mane does do well at the beginning of the season a lot of times, all this to say I think a Salah plus Mane double up could be the way to go if you're looking to really jump up in some rank if you think that Liverpool are going to continue to score a lot of goals. So we've talked about Wolves and Liverpool a little bit, but the team I really want to talk about right now is Leicester. Now, my question is, what more could Leicester have done to impress you so far this season? I mean, they have won 3-0, 4-2, and then 5-2 against Man City. Now, the first 2 matchups were reasonably easy. So they played West Brom and then Burnley. And it was Burnley's first match and West Brom's first match of the season. But it was also Leicester's first match of the season, Game Week 1, obviously. But the point here is that this could be a sign of Leicester just continuing to do really well, while we may be overlooking them saying, oh, they're just getting penalties. Oh, they just had an easy matchup against West Brom. Oh, Man City just had a bad game. And meanwhile, we could be overlooking the real quality of Leicester here. So that's a real possibility to watch out for. And I currently don't have any Leicester players in my team. And the obvious person to get would be Vardy. Harvey Barnes is also an option, and I've looked at him. I have Son injured, so I'm definitely considering Barnes. I could do Son to Barnes and Werner to Vardy and double up on Leicester if I really wanted to. But I think the case for Vardy is a strong one. Now, to get into FPL psychology here for a second, I got to be careful with like making the case for Vardy and transferring him in because I want to make sure I'm transferring him in for the right reasons. I feel like a lot of times people play FPL and they have like this narrative in the back of their mind of like how they want to be seen as how they play the game, especially with content creators. Like sometimes they're like, oh, I'm the guy that always gets this player, or whatever it may be, or a way they play the game, and sometimes it's easy to get too caught up in that. So last season, I made a video making the case for Vardy, and then I brought him in ahead of the Burnley game. He scored, and then like next week, he got the hat trick against Southampton. And then after that week, I think it was, I decided I was going to captain him every week until he blanked, and that went on for like 14 weeks or something like that, where I just captained him every single week, including against Man City when he scored. And then I even captained him against Liverpool, which was dumb. He blanked, but I stuck to my rule, and I don't blame myself too much for it. I mean, Vardy's just a great striker. Vardy's better than Kane. Let's get it out of the way. He's probably my favorite Premier League player, to be honest. He's the only Premier League player I have a jersey of. Anyway, Jamie Vardy is very good at making runs. He's amazing at that, and he's very good at finishing. Those are two very important qualities. And he's also a good short passer. Don't underrate his short passing ability and his knowledge of when to play a pass. But the downside here is, let's also talk about his injury. So he's got this nagging injury apparently. And while I don't see him sitting out next week because of it, it could be something where he gets subbed off early again, or it just puts him at a risk to maybe miss a game if he really hurts himself. He is old. A lot of people know about his routine where he drinks wine and Red Bull before games. So is he going to deteriorate faster than other players? I mean, we don't really know. This is Jamie Vardy we're talking about. This is a special human being. He has the highest expected goals so far this season, and here's what I expect to happen with Jamie Vardy. I expect the number of penalties Leicester gets to go down. Obviously, they can't sustain this type of penalty getting form. But I expect the number of open play goals that Vardy scores to go up. They went up around this time last season, and I don't think that he can continue to go on this sort of poor form in terms of open goal scoring. Yes, he scored an amazing one against Man City. So he should have a lot of confidence now, which is pretty important. We saw him go on multiple long streaks. He has the longest streaks of consecutive games where he scored goals in the EPL. So we know that he's got that potential to be really streaky. So I think with him getting this confidence and Leicester gaining this confidence as a team as a whole, and they're already top of the league right now, I think this could do big things. And they play West Ham next. So West Ham just looked amazing against Wolves, but Wolves and Leicester are completely different teams. Leicester are a team that have the threat in behind that Wolves kind of have if Neto was up there and Adama, but that's just not really how they play most of the time. They sort of slow play it out from the back. They swing the ball around to the wing backs. That's how their games tend to go a lot of times. And Leicester aren't necessarily the same. We're also looking at a Leicester with Castagna, who we haven't seen in the EPL before, and Harvey Barnes potentially getting better, as well as James Justin's improving. So Soyuncu's pretty young. So if all these players are getting better around Vardy, even though he is aging, and I still think he's the same quality as he was last season, a guy that he's averaged 20 goals over the past 3 seasons. I think Vardy is being overlooked a little bit here, but it's also worth noting that he's a little cheaper than KDB. So if I think that Vardy's going to keep up with KDB, who's the other player I really want, I'm going to go with Vardy instead because of that cheaper price tag. So that's sort of the way I'm looking at this right now. And I really want Jamie Vardy, and that's probably going to be my transfer. My worry is his injury. I don't want to get some money in that doesn't play. That would be terrible. That would probably mean a wild card would be coming the very next week. I don't really know if I own Vardy that much the season where I finished 50th overall, but last season he was amazing for me, and he's just been a great striker for so many years now, and he's been overlooked in terms of how much actual quality the man actually has. So the man with the highest expected goals on the team that's done everything possible to impress you so far looks like a good option going into West Ham at home, Aston Villa at home, and then Arsenal away. The good thing about Vardy also is that he can play against any matchup. He's really fixture proof because if he plays against the good teams like Man City, a lot of times that means Leicester have more chances to counter, as we clearly saw against Man City. And then game week 7, they also play Leeds, which is looking like a fantastic matchup. But that brings me to the other player that I could get in, which is De Bruyne. Now, De Bruyne is the number one man on a team that consistently dominates the EPL in terms of goals. So there's that. And they play Leeds next, who have been conceding goals for fun, besides last week. So De Bruyne is a great option. I think if you can get De Bruyne and Vardy, that would be amazing. I could do that for -8 if I got rid of Trent, but obviously I'm not very interested in that. That wouldn't really be worth it in my opinion. I can't go straight to De Bruyne or Vardy without... Actually, I could go straight to Vardy without taking a -4, but I can't do the same for De Bruyne because I have 0.9 in the bank and I have Son. Unless I got rid of Salah, which I'm not going to do that. So De Bruyne, the great thing about him is the fact that he's on set pieces and he's on penalties. Man City, as I said, they're going to be in the box so much. They should get a lot of penalties this season. The issue with De Bruyne is they don't have a striker. Now, I think there's a decent chance they sign one. They're Man City. They can at least go out and sign an Olivier Giroud or a Negredo or whoever it may be. I think Giroud would be a good option for them. I would like to see them have Ibra. I know that's not really a chance, but somebody like that, a big name player that's maybe old. I think it would be cool to see. I think they could really use one right now. Rory Delap would be an interesting option if they just kept playing him. I don't know if that would help De Bruyne or hurt him, but I don't think Sterling as a center forward is the best for De Bruyne. And with De Bruyne costing 11.6, I think that Vardy could maybe keep up with him or outscore him. And I already have Foden, who hopefully will get some returns for Man City. And I don't know how much I trust Man City right now to really pay for a premium asset when there are so many goals flying in all over the place. With that said, I think De Bruyne will do well against Leeds. Leeds have not defended well. They like holding a high line. This could be a game where Man City score 5 on them. So I hate to not have a Man City player for this game. And I know there will be other games like this as well, which is why this is such a tough decision. I think De Bruyne is just a great option, but I think I'm going to have to go Vardy here because I can get Mahrez in. So it'll be Son to Mahrez and then Werner to Vardy. And Werner, getting rid of him is a tough one too, because I think in the next 2 weeks he could get a goal and an assist total, and it wouldn't be so bad. So I'm really betting on whichever striker I get to do well. But I could also see Werner stuck out wide and Chelsea sucking. So we just don't really know what to expect from Chelsea. And with so many goals flying in, I'd rather have one of the people that's in great form right now. So yeah, those are looking like my likely transfers at the moment. That's Son to Mahrez and then Werner to Vardy. And not to talk about Mahrez too much because it'll only have one game of data, but I mean, just look at what he did last season. His returns per 90 minute are good, and he also is on a team where they lost their strikers, so really they don't really have anybody to rotate him with. So that would be the main benefit of him. I think he should start over the next month, but I'm not completely sure. But yes, you made it through the whole Leicester part of the video. The point of this was to talk about these 4 teams. I think they can provide some great value. So there's Liverpool, Man City, and Wolves. The point on Wolves is interesting because they just got obliterated by West Ham. But I just wanted to say that I think you should keep. Leicester, I think, are a team that you should probably trust more than the general public is right now. Like the general FPL community, I think should trust Leicester a little more than that. It's worth getting some of their players in, like Castagna, Justin, Barnes, Vardy. I think those are good options, especially Vardy, obviously. De Bruyne is still great. Liverpool are a team to trust. I'm glad I still have Devil Liverpool. If you wildcard and you got rid of Salah, it could work out for you. I mean, if you have De Bruyne, I don't have De Bruyne, so I think this week De Bruyne will probably do better than Salah, but that's just my personal opinion. I would captain De Bruyne over Salah this week. For the miscellaneous part of the video, let me just mention, I don't think Tottenham are trustworthy. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is the real deal. I'm not sure about Ings, but I like him. I think Mape and Colin Wilson are good options. And I think that Rashford, Martial, and Greenwood are not great options right now just because they kind of cost a lot for the output they're giving compared to the cheaper options that could outscore them. So thanks for watching the whole video. If you made it this far, I would consider subscribing. Hopefully you had a better Game Week 3 than I did, and I will see you next time.